Kim Parkinson here, and this is Keep Creating. Today we have a special guest, and she's going to tell us all about art journaling. From small journals to large journals, Catherine Scanlon's going to be here, and she's going to show us how it's done.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
Hi and welcome back. Today I have illustrator and designer from Art Gone Wild, Catherine Scanlon, here for our interview. Welcome, Hi. Catherine.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you are an artist. When did you start and want to be an artist?
Oh gosh, I can remember being 4 years old and saying to my mom, I'm going to grow up to be an artist. And I've done so many things. I think I've done it all. Photography, watercolor painting, quilting, you name it, I've done it.
Fantastic. What is your favorite part about being an artist?
There's something special about being able to take something that's in your head and putting it on a piece of paper so that people can understand it, feel your emotion, and kind of see a piece of who you are. That's really special.
Now, you have been an artist for a long time, and you make a living doing this. How do you get yourself out there?
I blog, I have a Facebook page, I have a Twitter account. I worked for several large companies designing projects and things for them using their supplies. So I've kind of been doing it all for a really long time. So you just kind of go with the flow and get it all out there.
And now you're designing your own stamps and your own stencils. How'd that get started?
I walked up to a company and said, hey, I want to design stamps. And she looked at my journal and she said, okay, let's go.
Do you know which one your first stamp was? Do you have a...
my first stamp...
What kind of an image was it? Do you know?
Was a Black-Eyed Susan.
Oh, I love that one. That's actually our most popular one here at the store.
And that's my best-selling stamp.
Oh, fantastic. So if you had any advice for those that wanted to be an artist, what do you suggest?
For people that want to create art and they don't think they're good, I would say don't give up. Practice. Practice makes perfect. If you see a style or see somebody's art that you like, look at the piece of art and try to break it down into a series of easy steps so that you can, if you can figure out how they did it, then you can do it too. And also, don't get discouraged, because even though you might think that I'm an artist and I never make mistakes, I throw plenty of stuff away that I don't like. Although you might like it, other people might like it, it doesn't meet my standard, so I might throw it away or I will abandon it. But I might come back in a couple of years and pick it up and like it.
I have this wonderful product called gesso, and if I don't like it, I just gesso over it.
I use that too. But my biggest piece of advice is not to give up, and my second biggest piece of advice is to practice as often and as much as you possibly can. Practice, practice, practice. Every day, practice. Start a journal and draw one thing in it 15 minutes every day, and if you compare the first page to the last page, you will see a definite improvement.
Actually, are you not doing that right now? You're doing a page a day, correct?
I do this thing that I call my daily practice, and I draw in just a regular old notebook. I've got notebooks full of little sketches, and I've combined them with quotes, and there's a definite improvement from where I started, just kind of willy-nilly thing, and then you get your focus and things kind of come together and it feels very natural.
Do you start with your quote or do you start with an image first?
I start with my floral design. I really, I'm an avid gardener, and so I like to go sit in my garden or be inspired by flowers, and so I do a lot of mostly only flower drawings.
And now, where do you garden? You're from Maine, correct? Mm-hmm. And what part of Maine?
I'm in the Mid-Coast area.
Okay.
And I garden a lot, and I'm very proud of the fact that I have some peonies in my garden that were my great-grandmother's, as far as I can tell. They were in my grandmother's garden, and when she passed away, they were dug up and I got them. But my mom told me that they were also in her grandmother's garden. So
Wow, heirlooms.
very special to me.
Aww.
It makes me a little weepy.
So when you are creating, what is your favorite medium to work with?
I would say watercolor painting. I've done a lot of watercolor painting, but really any medium that I can move around with a brush that's soaked with water. I think that happened when I became a mother, and having a little toddler around is knowing that if it spilled on the floor, if he got it on his hands, it wouldn't be a big deal. It could easily wash it up. Or if I splatter, which I happen to splatter a lot, it washes out of my clothes. Acrylic paint doesn't really wash out.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Most of my clothes do have paint or marker on them.
Mine too.
It is what it is.
So tell me, you are currently teaching here. You are teaching here often, actually. You come down every other month or so,
Yeah.
and you teach a couple of classes. And our biggest seller for your classes is art journaling. So what is art journaling?
Art journaling is a form of personal expression. It's the ability to create art for nobody but yourself. There's no right, there's no wrong. Your process is what works for you. You can use it as a place to try new techniques. You can use it and new products. You can use it as a place to write down your thoughts and then create art on top. You can use it like I use it, which is to draw flowers and stamp flowers, and as a way to preserve some of my favorite quotes. Or sometimes I'll use a quote to convey what I'm feeling inside my head or in my heart, and rather than go through the trouble of writing all that down for fear that somebody might read it, a quote will kind of help me get to the part in my head and in my heart where I can kind of move past the issue. And so it's really for feelings, it's for new techniques, new supplies, new whatever. It's personal exploration on many levels.
Now, you brought with you a couple of different books here, and I see that this particular art journal page is just on a notebook.
That's it. You know, you don't have to have a fancy schmancy journal with watercolor paper or anything. You can just use a regular cheap old notebook. I have pages and pages and notebooks filled with just pen and ink drawings that, and this is how my stamps come to life, is I will do something in here and I might decide that I really, really like it, and so I'll scan it and then turn it into a stamp like this.
Now, do you find that you have to draw the same image over and over again in order for a stamp to start to come to life, or
No.
how does that process work for you? I see some of your images and they do look the same every time. I notice that you have the same leaves all the time. Is that just your personal style, or is this something that you've taught yourself to do? This is the way I draw a leaf.
I think that's just my personal style. It's kind of the way I want people to look at a piece of art or something like this and say, that looks like something Catherine Scanlon did. And so far, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, definitely works. I can tell.
And my lettering, too, is unique. And I do that on purpose. And I actually write upside down.
I saw that, and we're going to be exploring that in the next segment, but definitely that's a unique trait you have there.
It's also because I'm a lefty.
Oh, well.
It might be because I'm a little wacky.
That too. So tell me about some of the other classes that you offer.
I do art journaling. I do some card making, some monoprinting, some image transfers, collage, making collage papers and then turning them into painting, image transfer. I mean, you name it.
You
I
sound
pretty
very
much-
busy.
I kind of am.
Well, what's your favorite?
Art journaling by far. There's something that's really makes me so happy to see somebody get it. Like when they realize like there are no rules, there's no right or wrong. It's creating something from their heart and you can see them just totally blossom. It just makes me really happy.
We have a couple of customers like that here that I can think of off the top of my head that I have seen totally blossom with art journals. It is amazing. It's just a total transformation when they start with a nothing, basically a blank piece of paper.
And they're so insecure, and what if I don't do it right, and what if this, and what if that, and you just have to gently guide them through, and it's the encouragement. And once they've done a couple of pages, they're like, I could do this, and you can just see them just take it and run with it, and there's nothing better. As a teacher, there's nothing better than to see people take your instruction and make it their own. That's really what it's about, is me showing you the technique and explaining my philosophy, and then you take what I'm teaching you and infuse your own style, your own designs, your own love of color, and make it who you are. It's not about who I am, it's about who you are.
Excellent. Well, do you have some other examples that you'd like to show us?
Let's see. Here's another one. I've added some color just with a quick marker.
Let's show that to the camera here.
This is just a regular cheapo Mickey Mouse notebook, and I usually date them at the top. And sometimes they don't work out like I want them to, so I will abandon them. This is an abandoned page. And this one hasn't gotten any color, and I haven't even gotten to erasing the lines yet. I might, and I might not.
So, speaking of erasing the lines, does that mean that you start everything in pencil?
Pretty much, yeah.
Really? Any particular pencil?
Whatever I can find. Usually they're hand-me-downs from my teenager with no eraser. They're this big, and I have to go searching for an eraser.
I have a bunch of those.
Yeah, I erase a lot as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now, when you use a pencil, you must be very light.
Sometimes.
Super light? No?
No, sometimes I'm mad and I go really dark, and sometimes I'm not.
Oh.
It's just, there's really no rules. There's no right or wrong.
Now, do you go over every design with pen? It does
Yep.
look, I've seen
Yes.
some and they look like they've been written with pen.
Yep, so I started all,
Or marker.
I started all with a pencil, and then I go in with a permanent black marker and I trace over my pencil lines, and then I'll add color with a marker. When I'm using this kind of a notebook, I'll just use a marker because the watercolor paint has a tendency to distress the paper and cause it to tear. If I'm using heavier weight paper, then I'll use my watercolor paints.
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for coming today, and maybe we can go over to the art bar and start creating something.
That sounds fun.
Great. Thank you so much.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. I'm here again with Catherine, and this time we're going to talk about art journaling and how she creates her art journals. So Catherine, what size art journal is the best size?
It doesn't matter, whatever you're comfortable with using. If you tend to be small, then you would want to go with a smaller journal, but if you tend to be big, then a bigger journal would work for you.
You're talking about the size of your designs. If you wanted a smaller design,
Yes.
smaller journal.
Yep.
So what size do we have today to show people?
This is approximately 5 by 8, 5.5 by 8.5.
Okay. And what kind of paper is in it?
This is watercolor paper. Watercolor paper has a little bit of a texture, so when you're stamping on it, that doesn't necessarily work that great. The texture kind of gives you
The texture kind of gives you a little bit of design bubbles
and it kind of isn't great. So I like to go with a smoother paper.
Which is a hot press or a cold press? Do you remember?
Hot press is smoother because they're running it through the hot presses up for the paper, and it smooths out all the bumps.
We actually carry almost all hot press here.
I think
Some
so.
of ours it's just very smooth. It's just like this. This
Yeah.
is very super thick. What do you think that's about? 140 pounds?
I would say so. And this is a little bit of a conundrum to me because it's smooth on one side and slightly textured on the other side. So I'm not quite sure if this is watercolor paper or if it's mixed media paper or what.
Is it going to work for today's technique?
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
let's give it a try.
Okay, so this is, there are a lot of journals that you can get. I like to use a wired coiled journal because I can take it apart just simply by opening the journal and pulling apart the coil. And when I do that, I'm left with the coil, which I set aside so that I can put my journal back together again. And then I've got all of these individual pages. This is going to allow me to stamp freely. If I make a mistake, I can easily toss it. But also, I can stamp on a flat surface and the coil's not going to get in the way. And also, if I use a lot of water or I get messy, this beautiful page is not going to get ruined by any potential mess or accident that I may have.
Oh, I know a lot of artists that use acrylics and they put wax paper in between. But I suppose with the water that wouldn't work quite so well.
Well, yes, and you know what I've also heard is there's a product called Press and Seal. So people will take it and wrap their pages in it and then press it, and it seals the stuff around their pages to keep them wet.
Oh,
Not wet, not getting wet. So
to get it one side. Okay, so what do you have for us? I know you have a beautiful art journal that you've made some wonderful images in already.
So I am going to show you how I create a journal page. And I typically start with drawing some lines on the page.
Do you start with in this particular case, did you start with your quote first?
I'm going to start with my quote first. So I've lined the page with a pencil, and I'm going to add my quote. And I've kind of given myself a little bit of a cheat sheet back here so that I can
You know
add
what quote you're going to use?
I'm going to use this one. It says, "Each day is a gift. Don't send it back unopened."
Oh, what a nice
And
quote.
so I've given myself some guidelines here, and I'm just going to start. I kind of use a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters. And you can see that I'm not writing light.
You're actually writing upside down.
I know, and I started writing the wrong word. So
That's okay.
The quote is going to be my
Something
own now.
different. So you're writing upside down. Is there a reason for that? Should we be all writing upside down now?
It just
Your
works
way?
for me.
Okay.
I feel, as a lefty, it just works for me. I can see all of my letters. My hand doesn't get out covered with ink. It is what it
true.
is.
Oh, great. So now once you have written out all of your quote here, you have done that here. This one here says, "If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door."
That's right.
And what is your next step once you have written your quote?
So my next step is to take my permanent marker and ink in my quote. It's really important to use a permanent marker, especially when you're using anything watercolor or that requires a lot of water, because the water will cause if it's not permanent, the ink will kind of spread and it'll be a total disaster.
So it doesn't look like a basic Sharpie you've got in your hand.
No, this is a Pitt pen. You could use a Sharpie.
Okay.
I mean, there's no need to. You buy super expensive supplies, or you can just work on the cheap and
Work with what you got.
work with what you got. You can find a lot of these things in here, but you can also find them in the grocery store or
Probably in your own junk drawers.
in
at
your
home.
junk drawers. I'm really a huge proponent of telling people to use what they have.
Excellent.
Learn the techniques, become comfortable with what you're doing, and then say, wow, I really want to splurge on that really expensive watercolor palette or whatever. But you're going to have the confidence to know how to use it, and you're also not going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to ruin it. What if I make a mistake? Remember, there are no mistakes.
So I see you are just outlining your design now.
Yep.
And once you're done outlining, I think we have one that you have finished, correct, in here?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
And so once you have done something like that, what is your next step once you've finished outlining all of your letters?
I will go in with my paints. Is there any particular one that you want me to do?
Any one of them is fine. How about this one right here?
I'm going to do this one because I like this one better. So I'm going to go in with my watercolor paint and add some color. So this is a watercolor, a travel palette, and I take a spritz bottle. This is a recycled bottle from my kitchen countertop spray, and I want to spray it a little bit to get the paint activated and wet. And I've got a water bucket over here, and then it's really important to have the right brushes. If you don't have the right brushes, you're going to fail right off the bat. If you tried to use paintbrushes that were like hog hair with watercolor paint, you would really not be happy because they don't absorb the water or the paint. So you would be constantly going in for more paint and it would be just dripping. So once I have
So you don't want to use the kind that come with the little kids' watercolor.
you can use those.
Oh, those will work.
Those
fine?
are okay. It's the ones that
Plastic bristles, I guess.
plastic
more so?
bristles and the ones that are stiff like a hog's hair.
Okay.
I think they're made out of hog's hair.
know
So
any
when I'm doing
hogs.
an art journal page, when I'm painting anything, I always start with a background.
Okay.
When I do the background, it makes the focal point kind of jump out. And I paint right over my words.
This looks like one of your stamp designs.
It is.
She is. She's painting right over her words.
If you don't have the right size brush too, sometimes that can be a little bit problematic.
Wow, you just kind of messed it on there.
I did. You know, that's it. Just go fast and fast. Don't stress. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Just like they say with that sneaker company, just do it.
And I know that when you're trying to create, a lot of times in today's day and age, people don't have a lot of time. So this is
Right.
perfect.
Right. So you could create you could take a journal apart, stamp on all the pages, do the lettering on all the pages, and get them pages ready, put the journal back together again, and then when you have the time, you can just go in and add color.
Now, between colors, do you have to do anything? I guess not. Nothing special.
Nothing special.
Yeah,
and I
you just
do want
grab the same brush.
Yep, I want to mention that my palette is clean today, but it's usually a hot mess.
That's okay.
And if you make a mistake, just take your finger and brush it out. And because watercolor has a tendency to be messy and it bleeds, and that's the beauty of it, honestly.
So once you've done one color or a couple of colors, wow, it already looks beautiful. You've only done 2 colors and it's already. After you've done that, will you go over some of it with a marker or anything like that, or you just strictly do a watercolor page for this?
Nope, I will let it dry, and then if I feel like the colors are a little bit dull or a little bit shallow, I might go in with a colored pencil or a marker and just do some shading to make it look prettier or to kind of enhance the design a little bit.
Now, a lot of times people call art journals mixed media. And so right now you've used a couple of different mediums already, because we started with a pencil and then we went through with the marker, and now you're doing some watercoloring, and you saying that you can also go ahead and use some markers when it's done.
Yep, and colored pencils or crayons, or really what makes it mixed media is that you're using a whole bunch of different things. You're mixing your medias together. You're mixing your supplies together to create one piece of art. And if you don't like something, you just blot it up.
But it didn't take the green away. That's nice.
Well, yeah, because I was kind of gentle.
Oh.
But it stained the paper slightly. What's happened is the paper, the green has stained the paper, but it's super light, and it really is going to need a little bit of a bump up of the color. It's the wrong green. So I'm going to go in with a little bit darker and just enhance these little veins here.
That's just amazing, because you're just nice and simple and easy. Not a lot of special technique. Anybody can do this.
Yes, anybody can. And the biggest secret about watercolor painting is, do you know?
Water.
Water with color. And so if you don't use enough water, it's not going to have that fluid, luminous look, because you can see traditional watercolor paint is transparent, meaning you can see through it. So if you can't see the brightness of the paper underneath, then it's going to look, because your paints are so thick, you're going to be like, I don't like the way this looks.
Now, I do know they make other types of watercolors. We have here in the store, I think, H2Os, twinkling H2Os. Have you ever used those? They've got like a shimmer, a shine to them.
Yep, I think I've used those before. I like to use those like I would go in and enhance my colors with the H2Os. You can use acrylic paint like this by just watering it down. So the Tim Holtz Distress Paints you could use in the same way. Put a little bit of the paint on the palette on your side and pick it up with the water.
You've made a fantastic, just simple, just 4 colors here.
Yeah.
Let's show the camera. We've got just about a minute left here. So let's show the camera. Oops, she's dripping. What she's done super quick. I think that was maybe 10 minutes just with us talking. Oops, she's got a more drip there.
This is called kind of a bloom. This is one of the beautiful things about watercolor paints, is when the colors bloom into each other.
Oh, I didn't even know that term. That's cool. It's kind of turned a purple color now, of course, because the blue and the pink. So let me just see if I can just move this gently, ever so gently, to another page. And you can see here that she's done another one earlier, and it's all completed. Here we see right there. Thanks so much for coming in today and for showing us how to start our art journals.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. We had such a great time today with Catherine Scanlon. From her interview to learning how she creates her art journal pages, it's such a great time to see a true artist at work. I think I'm going to invite her back for the next one. Actually, we're going to talk about markers, all different types of markers, from dye-based markers to solvent-based markers, translucent, and even opaque. We're going to talk about these, and we're going to have fun with them. Until then, keep creating.